welcome back to Embody Your Empress. I'm Sarah King, the host of this podcast and the founder of Empress Nation. If it's your first time joining us here, welcome. Go back. You have so many beautiful episodes to catch up on. Make sure you hit that subscribe bell so that you get the notifications as soon as a new episode comes out. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'd love to hear what your key takeaways are from previous episodes and today's one. Of course, I've got another amazing guest for you here today. We're all about shifting our perspectives, opening up our minds, and being our truest self on a full spectrum, the human to the soul. I would love to introduce our guest today. Her name is Susi Thomas, and she is all about the empowerment, all about self leadership, and all about women and the women they surround themselves and being that best version of yourself. Welcome today, Susie.
Hello, Sarah. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm great. I would love to hear who you are from the human to the soul and how you came to be on this journey that you are.
It's a very long story, about 52 years long, so we haven't got all that time.
Yeah.
But thank you for having me. Um, yeah, so I'm Susi Thomas. My my title has changed quite a lot over the last couple of years because as I've been on this journey. But where did I come from? So I come from East Germany originally. So the whole part of Germany as you know, yeah. And I don't remember much of my childhood. I was either in a sports hall, in a bed, or at school. Those are the three places I really remember. So I joined sports club when I was 4 years old. And at the age of 12, I was scouted for an Olympic college. I then trained with Olympic gold medalists from the 80s, and like Heike Drexler, Petra Felker. So, have some stories about that. But yeah, so the dream was to be an Olympic athlete. And I was on the road to that. And at the age of 18-ish, I got a letter from the Olympic Committee of East Germany to say I was being selected for the Olympics 2000 in Sydney. So, you know, that was the start of the dream, really. And but I had a few issues throughout the last year, and I realized, or a week later, I found myself still holding the letter in one hand in the doctor's office, listening to my parents one side, my coaches the other side, listening to the words of the doctor that said, you can carry on doing sports, but you may make the Paralympics. So clearly that wasn't a choice. So, and all of a sudden that was probably the first identity crash I had in my life, because sports was my world. I didn't know who I was without sports. So that was probably the first time where all my eggs were in a basket and my basket literally crashed to the floor and I had scrambled egg, quite frankly. I had no clue what to do. So that was that. I then was in the, obviously we had a very communistic, socialistic upbringing, and I believe in that ethos because as humans, I think we should work for the community rather than for status. Um, and that's what the ethos is. But as humans, we're too materialistic for everyone to be equal, for doctor and street cleaner to be equal. So anyway, my parents moved to Berlin just before the Berlin Wall came down, and I was in Berlin the night the wall came down. So when I talk to people about this, their experiences, excitement and elation, and oh my God, you must have been so happy. My experiences, that was probably the most scared I've ever been in my life. And everything I knew, every system that I knew, disappeared overnight. every bit of certainty I had from whether I'm going to school the next day or whether there is a shop down the road or who is leading the country or etc. Everything just disappeared overnight. And that was scary. So that was probably the second. I didn't, I couldn't speak very well English. So my parents sent me over to England to learn some English so I would pass college. And I met my husband on the last day of the holiday, and I was forced to learn English, quite frankly. Um, so I turned up in 1993 in Gatwick. I decided to just go all in. As a young person, you don't really overthink, or I didn't anyway. And so I turned up in Gatwick Airport with a baby in my belly and one bag. So that was probably the second part of my life where everything just shifted, and I wasn't really sure who I was. Other than I knew I was going to be a mom. That was for sure. So yeah, and then so I didn't speak the language very well, etc., etc. But I knew I've always been a workhorse. I've always been someone that needs to be active. So I decided, me and my husband decided we're going to swap roles. He looks after the kids, and I'm going to work. I'm going to have the career. So I then worked 28 years in senior leadership. I've trained thousands of leaders, young leaders from the age of 18 all the way to the age of 50, 60. Seen so many people, you know, and led 1,400 people through a pandemic. That was probably the most eye-opening thing ever from a leadership point of view. And that's where things have changed for me a little bit. Because all of a sudden, overnight, my job became from generating profit, which I was very good at, to supporting 1,397 people. And I had no clue how to do that. I had no clue how to do that. Nothing in my leadership curriculum prepared me how to absorb and also protect myself from 1,397 people's emotions that ranged from scared to, hey, oh, I don't have to go to work for 2 months. I've had the time of my life, to losing people, to fearing for people, not knowing where their people were at, can't see their people because they can't leave the country, etc., etc. As well as at the same time finding out that my son had stage 4 cancer. who- So then I had my own emotion to deal with, as well as his health and my family's emotions. And I literally just felt like I'm that woman that has to hold it all together. I'm the glue. What happens if I'd fall to pieces? And I was just in full like absorption mode. And very naively, I thought, well, do you know what? I do a mental health first aid course. That will do the trick. Typical old Sue that was. Yeah, that will tick the box. Um, but that opened the mindset for me. That opened it, or pushed the door ajar for me, and made me realize that I was actually emotionally not very intelligent. And I always thought of myself as a very people-led leader, but I was always sometimes really confused for why my messages didn't land with people the way I intended them to land. And the missing piece was empathy. I wasn't living in their world. I didn't leave my filters at the door and lived in their world unapologetically. And that was the problem. That's where I didn't land. So I went on this journey. I thought I need to level up here if I want to really be there for these people and for myself and for my family and for anyone. I need to level up. So I trained as a coach, and the idea was to stay in the business and become a better leader, to be there for my people and be a better parent, a better wife. Da 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 da. However, what happened then? My the person I was reporting to, the franchisee I was reporting to, he stayed in his old baby boomer way, and it started to create a void. So I was shifting and he was staying. And it turned into a situation where we may as well have been two people speaking two different languages. And it became I had basically had to choose my values over my career. Do I want to stay in my career and just accept that's the way it is and that's all there is to life? Or do I choose my values and the mirror image that stares back at me and like what I see? Because I didn't know who I was anymore. There was a point during the pandemic where someone asked me, a friend of mine asked me, Sue, when was the last time you experienced unapologetical joy? And I had nothing. I literally could not remember. I was so far in fight and flight and just doing. I had no clue what joy was anymore. And at that point, I knew I needed to change. So when I came out of leadership, I thought, I'm going to be the person that changes the workplace. I'm going to make it psychologically safe for anyone. But there's just still too many baby boomers up the top. And what I realized on my journey is that the first person I need to learn to lead is myself. This leadership has to come from the self first, because you are your own resource, the biggest resource you have. And unless we manage that resource, you can't manage any other resources. So that is kind of what and I don't want any woman ever, 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 and I'm so passionate about this, don't want any woman ever to feel like I've been made to feel. I literally felt like the crazy hippie that I've come from a festival. And that's how I was looking at, oh my God, what's she gonna say now? You know, what kind of, just because I led differently, I started my managers' meetings with a mindful exercise, and I finished with a mindful exercise. Or maybe even just 5 minutes of silence rather than all this like business noise. And like I said, the franchisee and his leadership team that obviously conformed to his leadership, they looked at me like I was some crazy loon, quite frankly. And it started really grating my self-confidence. And I wished 2020 Susie could sit here and just listen to me, because I might still be in that career and serve those people that I wanted to serve. But do you know what? It is what it is. We're in the perfect place, right? And I'm now serving women who are ready to just drop the mic on people pleasing, drop the mic on overthinking, drop the mic on just running other people's agendas and actually connect with themselves. And I think that's what your podcast is all about. When I listen to the other episode, that it's, all the women and men that have been on there is all about finding that connection to self. And that's the biggest form of leadership. Because to me, leadership, the definition of leadership, the best definition for me that I found was a definition, I can't take credit for it, it's by Simon Sinek. It's just a mentor, an idol of mine that I look up to. And he says, leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in our charge. So you're a leader if you're a parent. You're actually the most important leader if you're a parent, because the child comes into the world as a blank page. You're a leader if you're the sober friend who gets your friends home on a drunken night out. You're a leader if you're a teacher, or whenever. And we're a leader to ourselves, because we're taking care of us. We're in charge of us. So yeah, that's a very long story.
I love it. I love it. You should see my page of nuggets.
Oh my God.
First of all, I love that acknowledgement that I think goes completely under the wayside. Mothers are leaders. And I know many women who are what would deem themselves, and I hate this terminology, but that just I'm just a mom. It's ugh. To me, I'm like, we're never just anything, but a mother is a leader, and we don't value that as a leadership role in our society. I feel, and I feel like that needs to change because the mental load that a woman has as a mother is exponential compared to um, a woman or before having children, or a man before they have children into their life as well, like in mental load that comes on board. So yes, mothers are leaders. I love that you made that statement. Like the awareness around that is huge, absolutely huge. Um, leaders, leaders in a professional sense in a business. Do you find female leaders are still chained to the people pleasing tendencies?
100%, because we are, because there is that lack of empathy. Yeah. We as women are different to, we're emotionally different wired to men. But that's just a fact, right? We have got other things going on in our body um that men don't have, can't. But there's a serious, is still so male dominated, the business world. For a woman to rise up the levels, you are. I mean, I was shouted at for crying. I was shouted at for being honest. I was being literally taught a pattern of, and even as a and that's why I'm so powerful about words and transformative language, because we all have a responsibility as a speaker. Everything we say carries an energy, right? And the power of our words is, I mean, if I give you an example, so my coach from the age of 12 to 19 used to say to me, "You're either the first or the first loser." I heard that sentence on a probably repeated, probably 4 or 5 times a day from the age of 12 to 19. I was not aware till about 2 years ago how those words still impacted me. They kept me in that people pleasing mode. They kept me striving. I had to be the best mom, the business person, the perfect this, the perfect that. And perfection is a prison. You're never going to get there. You're like a hamster wheel. You're never going to get to any kind of destination. Um, so, but is my coach sitting at home or wherever he is these days, 30 years later, and thinks, "Oh my gosh, what did I do to Susie all those years ago to say these horrible words to her?" Absolutely not. He has probably a zero awareness of this. And that's why I'm so aware of how we speak. If you think about our kids, how many times when they frustrate us, do we just mutter something under our breaths? How many comments do you remember of your mom or your dad muttering under their breath?
Mhm. I remember
We hear
so
them.
much.
Exactly. We hear them. They don't think we heard them. We hear them, but we're doing the same. And that's why, I'm so passionate about the power of words. And really, you just said we're not just anything. I hate the word just. I heard that word so many times in the business world. It was like, just get people from A to B. Well, if it would be that simple, why would they not be doing it?
Just get by in life. Why? Why do I want to just get by in life? This is
It's
life to
such
be lived.
exactly. It's such a stupid word. It's such
Yeah.
an unserving word, and it really diminishes the process. It really diminishes that there's a process from getting from A to B, whatever that process is, whether it's in business, whether it's in life, whether it's achieving goals. You have to go from A to B. And unfortunately, life is a little bit, life's to give you a few curveballs along the way. So it's not like a straight line from A to B. So our job as leaders, whether that's a mom, whether that's a friend, whether that's a mentor, is to navigate those obstacles and help you navigate those obstacles. That's your job as a leader. You can't just go from A to B. There is no such thing as a just anything. So yeah, just does not exist in my world.
Every time I hear it now, I'm like, whoop, it rings off like an alert bell. It's like, oh, there it is. There it is. No, we're not inviting that in anymore. Oh my gosh. I love how you said before that you were talking about your boss. You started to develop your emotional intelligence, take it into the workplace, and your boss was still stuck where they were, unwilling to even open up a perspective, which we find is often in many different relationships, like professionally, that can
Mm,
happen with a bot. And when it's a higher rank, it causes challenge and difficulty and uncomfortableness and tension. It also happens a lot in relationships and marriages where one person goes, wow, I want to expand my emotional intelligence. I want to explore who I am on a deeper level. And yet one person is just like, mm, I just as me, and I'm happy just staying as this person. Where where do you go? Like you said, you wanted to be Susie 20 years ago and perhaps take a different approach. Could that be meeting that boss front on more? Or did you feel like you were someone that expressed at the time and that it was just an unwilling situation that could be moved? Would there be anything
right.
you would change about that relationship?
Yeah, I would. There would be two things I would change because I thought, well, the way my world opened up from that, when I realized the mental health first aid course is not quite doing the job. It's opened the world, but it's not the whole ticket. I need to go on this journey. I call it an adventure because a journey tends to have an end. An adventure tends to carry on and it sounds way more exciting. So I tend to use the word adventure. So I knew I had to go onto this adventure, but I really wanted, I spent so much time over explaining, and I went to CTP therapy because I really couldn't understand why he couldn't understand me. And I tried to over explain what I was thinking, where I was coming from. It was like justifying what I was doing that did for about 3 years with no, it just made it worse. Each conversation just kind of made the void even bigger. What would I change now? Is I would have empathy for his world, right? That may sound a bit weird because I wouldn't want to live in in that sort of environment too long. But I would maybe spend a bit more time trying to really live in his world, even if it's just for 5 minutes. And then I probably would come from a slightly different angle. So I would understand that he lost someone throughout the pandemic, so he had challenges. Business was changing, business pressures were changing. Um, it was very stressful. The reintegration of a major business back into the world is, I thought it was hard enough stopping. Actually, to restarting the engine was just so much more complex than I ever thought. And he was at the head of that, the sort of like decision making bit. So I don't think, well, I'm not jealous of that situation. Let's just say that it was very stressful. Um, so yeah, I should have. No, I don't. Again, I hate the word should have. The learn for me would be I would try and live in his world for a bit, and because empathy goes both two ways. In my, so if I expect someone to live in my world for 5 minutes, it would be nice if I give that same courtesy back. And I probably didn't do that much justice. Um, the other thing I would do, I would, rather than explain everything I was doing and kind of asking for permission, I use a strategy it's called SEW. So, and it stands for sensation, emotion, and want. And that's how I would, if you try and convince, not actually try and get someone to see your point of view. That's the best way to do it without, because it doesn't create conflict. Because you're always living in your truth, and no one can argue with your truth. It's when we're changing our truth and we give interpretation about the other person. That's when it gets a bit tricky. Like, you're making me feel da 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 da, whatever. Uh, That person's probably not intending to do that. So um, I would say to in this work environment, it's giving me these type of sensations. It's making me feel this way. The emotions I am feeling are, yeah, that of undervalued, not seen, abandoned, all of this sort of stuff. And that's the most important part. I want you to hear me out. I want you to, when you come from that and then give the other person the same courtesy, you then have two conversations. You then can come together a little bit. You can find either compromise or some sort of mutual understanding, or you can accept you're just at different pages. But there's no conflict there because either party would not be um, interpreting their sensations, their feelings, their wants into the other person's behaviors. Does that make sense?
Mhm. It does, yeah.
So, I mean, that's a really good way of arguing with your husband, quite frankly, without it creating a big row. Um, so I use this strategy a lot, or probably most times. And also, you're very intentional about your communication then. Because you have to think about, how is this landing with me? What is this feeling I'm getting? And what do I actually want from the situation? You can't just blurt it out. So it becomes a very intentional conversation.
Mm.
Going
So
back to that transformative language.
yeah, if you were perhaps struggling with burnout, would that be a
Yeah.
strategy that you would use?
Yeah. Um, if I were burnout, the I hate the word cancer because the opponent of of peaceful life is people pleasing, right? That's why we end up in burnout
Mm.
because we're dancing to other people's tunes. We are listening to other people's agendas, and our mouth says yes before our brain goes, "What the hell have you been doing? Why have you said yes to this?" Yeah, exactly.
You try to shove it back in and you're like, it's out there. I cannot take it. Oh, but
Catch it.
yeah. Try it.
Right.
But
So, simple way, or again, it's all in my world, this is all about intention. And I call it, the best way to stop people pleasing, and that will take you away from burnout, is the 3 Ps, right? First P is you pause. You give yourself a chance intentionally to take a breath, for your mouth to zip and for your rational brain to kick in. And in that
it's just
minute,
harder than it sounds.
yeah, it's very, you have to physically take a breath before your mouth can speak, because you can't breathe in and speak at the same time. That's not possible. Um, then you would prioritize. So as you're breathing in and you get this request that's been thrown at you, and you take a breath in that microsecond, or that 30 seconds, you prioritize. How is that affecting my well-being? Is that aligned with my goals or my workload at the moment? Um, am is this even within my capacity? Yeah. And then the answer will go, no, 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 or yes, 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 or whatever. And then you put the third piece, protect. You protect your energy. I see it like a golden zipper around me. So when you people please, you just leak energy like a leaky old bucket that just leaked energy everywhere. So to keep the zipper tight, you then protect, like, am I saying yes because I'm generally want to help someone out and I want to contribute? There's nothing wrong with that as a human need we have. Or am I saying yes because of duty, obligation, weird loyalty, all of that? So if the answer is I'm saying yes because I genuinely want to help someone, then yeah, let's do it. Or if the answer is no, I'm just because the boss asked me to, and that way old Susie would have thought that the more he's gonna ask me, the more the better status I'm gonna get, the better the more valued of he's gonna need me more. Well, he's shown me very quickly when things changed that I was not really that needed or I was disposable. Um so yeah, so when you do the three P's again intentionally, you will not do people pleasing. And I've got my best tip for not people pleasing is you give yourself a limit of favors you're gonna honor a week, right? So if you say to yourself, I'm gonna honor one favor this week, where you're gonna have to be really, really exclusive about who's gonna get that favor. And you're gonna stop yourself, you're gonna pause to think about it.
I literally am just pausing and reflecting now. How often do I just go and not give myself a quota like all the time? Wow, this is interesting. I love that you bring up disposable as well, just to circle back around to what you were saying in the intro for a bit, because you were saying how you were absorbing all the emotion around you. And in my head, I was just getting the visual of, like a kitchen sponge. We absorb the emotions, we get saturated, we we get to a point we're non-effective because we've just absorbed so much. And then the disposable, I'm like, yeah, and then we throw away the sponge, right? How often do we say yes, yes, yes in a work situation, a corporate situation, because we think that's expected of us? And then we think, oh yeah, they're gonna value me because I'm saying yes, I'm doing all the things. And yet when it comes to crunch time, we are disposable. And that reality can be so confronting because you've given so much. You've given your energy, you've given your whole self to trying to make these things work. Often we sacrifice things like family activities. Um, I know people that work their weekends even though they've got things planned because it's a workplace pressure rather than saying no. And yet, when it comes to we are disposable, contracts can be cut, people can be shifted, people can be made redundant at the drop of a hat, or clashes with a boss. Can let me see you later, goodbye. And then for what? At the end of the day, you've given out part of yourself along the way with that. And it just had me, yeah, it just had me reflecting on that sponge where a sponge is only effective taking on so much before you have to rinse it out and bring it back to a dry
Exactly.
state.
And also, if you, what I've learned the hard way is that the people pleasing erodes respect. It ruins respect because you become the doer. I don't need to promote you. Why do I need to promote you? You're going to do it anyway. And then it's the person that has the boundaries who sets clear and um, clear boundaries for themselves and for other people. They're the people that get promoted. They're the people who get respected. They're the people who work 20 hours less for more pay.
Mm,
And yeah, that penny did not drop till probably about 3 years ago. And I thought, why am I doing this? I'm just another doer. And why no one has to actually compensate me for the doing
mm.
because I've said yes before they finished their sentence because it was feeding some sort of I I suppose throughout that sort of the athlete education, you're just you just had a job to do. I was either an athlete, then I became a leader. And I sacrificed so many. If you ask my grown up kids, my youngest one's 21, my oldest one's 31. If you ask them about, they were like, Mum was always at work. Well, she was here, but she wasn't here because she was in her laptop or she was on the phone 24/7. I worked for a business that was open 24/7. So I was expected on call 24/7. So my phone would ring 2 o'clock in the morning with security company telling me there's some alarm has gone off. Um, was I compensated for that? Absolutely not. Uh, and yeah, it's just yeah, the leadership curriculum is severely lacking on emotional intelligence education, and that's where we have so many psychological unsafe workplaces out there. And ultimately, that is my passion, to create or to help educate so many women self-lead that we can have strong but kind boundaries, because you don't have to be vulnerable to have a boundary. You can set a boundary with kindness, and no, it doesn't have to be an ugly word. To me, in my world, no stands for next opportunity. Okay. So what can I say no to that creates a yes to me? That's how I see it. And yeah, if old Susie could hear me, she she'd probably think, yeah, she probably thinks I would be some sort of hippie as well. But yeah, I definitely have shifted. Definitely have shifted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. You can
Um,
say no with kindness and compassion. You can have your values strong and have them with kindness, compassion, and empathy still for the other person, but still be stronger and where your boundary is on that without having to step over it, without having to give yourself away. That only it
100%.
builds resentment within yourself. And where's the compassion and kindness for sticking true with what's important for you in that moment?
100%. And if we do that as women, we will not lose ourselves. You will not be the Susie that got asked that question about joy and you don't have an answer, because those boundaries protect us. They're like our energy containers, aren't they? They just kind of keep it all in the right place. And as soon as we let them go, they're like leaky buckets, like I said, and we're all over the place. And next thing you know, you're just functioning on a day-to-day basis. You get up, you do your thing, you go to sleep. You get up, you do your thing. You're just serving other people all day long. The only person you're not serving is you. You're wearing all these hats. Your mom, your friend, your sister, your auntie, you're a leader, you're a boss, you're a colleague, you're all of this. You're a mentor, you're a teacher, you're a counselor, God knows what else. But you're never Susie. And
Where what what number one tip would you give to that woman sitting there going, "There's no joy in my life"? What tip would you give her right now so that she can
what
start
tip
to
would I give her right now? Pause. Just pause. Stop. Because you cannot your sponge needs wringing out, you know, and find someone that helps you be comfortable with that pause. Find a community that supports your pause. And I call it my starring five. The starring five, and I think we all should have those people, intentionally have those people in our life. We need to have a mentor. So to me, mentors are people that you look up to, that have been successful in what you want to do, that can teach you, that are aligned with where you want to go. So to me, it's people like, Tony Robbins, Simon Sinek, Mel Robbins. All these people have come from somewhere and they've walked my adventure that I'm on. You need a cheerleader. We need someone that sits there with their pom-poms, no matter what you do, and just pom-poms away in the corner. So for me, that's my sister. It doesn't matter what I do. I can be unapologetic or crazy, and she'll be there with her pom-poms on. Um,
It makes
It
such a difference when you have
it does.
someone and it's just like, yes, go for it. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, because it stops that inner critic that which is the other advice I would give that woman. But let me finish with the 5, the starring 5. The other person we need someone that challenges us. We need a challenger. Someone that is probably it's like that really super honest friend who comes from a place of love, but tells you you're not doing it right, but gives you that insight. So someone that really challenges your thinking and you can have a good old debate with, and you talk your way through the curveballs, the the processes. And then we need a collaborator, someone that's just like side by side, walking along the path. And you probably had many collaborators in what you're doing, along the way. And it makes the adventure so much more fun, right? Rather than do it on your own. And then we need the connector, someone that is quite natural at putting two people together or sticking you in a community. Yeah, you're a connector because you put an us in front of other people. So you're a connector.
Yeah. Always in the
So
back of my mind, I'm like, this person needs to meet this person. Like,
yeah, exactly. That's what connects. So if you have those 5 people in your life and you keep them very close, you have your starring 5 and you will have positive influence forever in your life. And the other advice I would give Susie, because Susie's inner critic was like just one big bully, quite frankly. It was like I was living with the worst bully, but I chose to live with her. It's like you live with your inner critic like a flatmate that you can't get rid of. Yeah, unfortunately, they're coming for the ride for say because their job is meant to keep us safe, right? But so I've not chosen. I've given my inner critic a persona, so that takes quite a bit of power away from her already. So, um, yeah, she's like a little witch. She's called Baba Yaga. So for all the sort of German people out there, they will know the reference. She was like this crazy little witch in like a fairy tale yeah. Um, so yeah, her name is Baba Yaga, and I have a visual image of her. So it's literally I can talk to her. Um, and we've we've now become besties. So we've chosen to be besties and rather than bullies. So for example, in August, she was a little bit active in July, if you know what I mean. So I said, "Do you know what? You need to go on a cruise. You need to have a freaking holiday. You need to bug off somewhere, go on a cruise and leave me alone, leave me do my thing." And then I thought, what can I do with all that inner critic around me? And then we write postcards to each other. And it's just like became this sort of like relationship. And now I can listen to my inner critic, but she's nowhere near as critical. She's much kinder. And she sometimes does challenge me. And that's the right thing to do. That's what keeps me safe. But yeah, I would say find become friends with your inner critic. Find ways of becoming friends with your inner critic. And that's some of the work I do in my membership, my hero collective to people. We find weird and creative ways of giving these things names and personas because it's much easier to deal with when you think you're talking to something or someone.
okay, good. When we shine the light on some of the shadows, they're not so scary. That we understand them. They are here to work with us rather than we think against us and give that out.
100%.
All right, Susie, it's Empress question time. I would like to know.
No,
Get ready for it.
I've done my homework. I've done my homework.
How do you embody your Empress?
Uh, I embody my empress by honoring my non-negotiables. It's probably not something new, but I have an AM and PM routine that I do every day or 99% of the day. I will have a creative day in the week where I will give myself, I don't know, to do something to get out of my head and give my brain holiday for about 2 hours. And I will have a yoga session, a Pilates session, and a dance lesson once a week. So that those are going in the calendar before anything else. And then I'll have a toolbox of um, um yeah, a toolbox of things I use, but they have a purpose. They've got an assigned purpose. For example, um, every every 3 months I take a identity snapshot. Okay. So for example, this was mine at the 31st of December. You've got a
Oh,
picture of me
yeah.
and it says today on the 31st of December, I am, and I'll just write all these words down. I literally take a identity snapshot of myself. And I look at that list and I feel frigging awesome, quite frankly.
Oh my gosh, I
It's,
love that celebration of you.
yeah, and
Ah,
so
awesome.
that's one. It's just when that self-doubt creeps in, when Baba Yaga gets a bit overzealous and excited, I can look at that list and she becomes very quiet. She's back in the back seat of the car, but she ain't driving it. She's not telling me where to go, if you know what I mean.
It's fun.
Um, I have an empowerment playlist. So again, when my energy drops a little bit, I stick that on and I'm back up there.
Right.
I've got my vision board, which you probably see behind me.
Yeah.
Um, and that's a sort of long-term vision, keeps me grounded. It's just I look at that every now and then. Looks a bit chaotic, but it's got a system. And then I've got a becoming board. And that is basically, yeah. The difference between a vision board and a becoming board is um I have three anchors this year that I want to achieve: confidence, courage, and clarity. And I'm thinking to myself, what is a visual image that says to me confidence, for example? Um, so confidence would be doing things like this, speaking, and learning how to speak better and how to present yourself better, etc., etc. So the image I've chosen is like a woman presenting in front of a large audience. My job is to recreate that image because I am that woman. And courage would be, I've got a massive dog phobia. I've had a traumatic experience as a child, which means any form of dog is very threatening to me and whatever. But my daughter has just decided to rescue a dog. So now I've got a furry grandbaby, which is a bit of a problem for me.
Yeah.
Uh, so my coverage picture is me just holding putting my hand on a dog's head. So I now have to recreate that image. But for me to recreate that image, I need to put actions in place to get to that place. So it challenges me. So that's my becoming board. It kind of confirms who I am becoming with the tools I already have inside.
I
And
love
that's
this.
how I kind of embody my empress.
Yes, I love this. So many great tips. So many. Okay, so what does your Empress energy feel like for you?
Uh, it's it feels like so the three colors I've got on my head is purple because I love purple, as you might have noticed. In my um, purple to me is that connection, that authentic connection to me. Um, I have the emotionally empowered, which is like a white light, and then I have the pink fuchsia light, which is like honoring to lead with inspiration and empathy. So, but all of those sort of lights, sort of purple, pink, fuchsia, and white, are all zipped up in this golden zipper. So, no leakage here. That's my Empress energy.
Oh, I love that. What a beautiful visual I've got down. It's gorgeous. Beautiful. And what are your parting words of wisdom for inspiring your nation?
Right. Okay. Be intentional about any words. even the small words. So replace but with and, because if you say but, you negate the first part of the sentence. So like, I'm successful, but blah, blah, blah. You negate the sentence. So replace but with and. The word just needs to go out of the dictionary and be banished forever. And say the word yet instead. Yeah, I am not quite there yet.
Mhm.
Means you're on a journey, you're on this, still on this adventure. It shows growth, it shows progression, it shows progress. So that would be my first one. And be responsible about the words you speak, because you don't never know the impact it will have on the other person. Um, Set your energy containers with kindness, so your boundaries, and reframe no as next opportunity.
Yeah.
That will give you the chance to say yes to things that serve you, that are your priorities, and become bestie with your inner critic.
And everyone needs one more friend, right? Make it
Yeah.
be noisy in the head.
Yeah, that's always living with you. You can't get rid of.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And I wrote down that next opportunity. I wrote that down. I'm going to come back to that, make a little poster for myself. I think that's
Love that.
brilliant. Brilliant. So good. Beautiful, Susie. How can people work with you? What's the best way that they can connect with you?
So you will find me either on my website or on LinkedIn. I'm quite active on there. Facebook, Instagram, the usual stuff. I'll send you the links, so I'm sure you'll put them in. Um, uh, I am running um a hero reset weeks next week. For the women who need just a bit of grounding, just a bit of breathing space, and who want to start stepping into the I'm done people pleasing, I'm done overthinking. I just I just need a chance and a space to breathe. And if Susie 2020 would have been given that tool, might have not had to go through some of the hard times I had to go through. Um, so that will be 3 really short online sessions, daily tips, actions, and little empowerment challenges, some prizes, and we finish the week with some reflection, because reflection is really, really important, because we need to honor what we've gone through. So yeah, that's you can work with me one to one. I've got a program that's called the Hero Program, and I've got a membership that's called the Hero Collective. So I'm all about being the hero of your story, the author of your story, the manager, the leader that you wish you had. Yeah. So yeah, that's the type of vibe I like to create in my leadership, in my membership, sorry. And it's small stuff, big impact. That's my motto is I'm not gonna make you any busier than you already are.
And the small stuff is the big stuff in life,
That is some small, yeah.
which we forget. We're like, it's the small things that are the biggest things. So, yeah,
100%.
yeah. Go check Susie out on the socials. Reach out to her if you're interested in working with her or any of her programs, because this is what we need more of in the world. And if you've listened to any other episodes, I get on the rant at this point where I'm like, women need to be the leaders of this world. Like, we need to step forward. It's our time to go, yes, I have something to offer this world. I have something that's unique. I know, I feel it within my heart that this world is going to be a better place when I speak up, when I speak my truth, when I show up as me, when I lead with my heart. And the more that we encourage people to do that and get your cheerleaders around you, the more we are going to see this ripple effect in the world. And we're not going to be having the conversations like you had, Susie 2020, where she's going to feel like the odd one out or the hippie or the person trying to force goodness into the world. We are
Yeah.
going to be rising together. And the more we do this, the better this world is going to be. And I fully believe that with all parts of my body, soul, energetics, everything. I'm laying it out there.
And I think we have that responsibility to our children, right? We're paving a world for our kids, and That's why, we need to nurture that. Nurture is the overall word, isn't it? Nurture ourselves to be there for them and develop a world where empathy exists, not gets eroded.
Yes.
And yeah,
I mean, if we're having this conversation in 20 years when my daughter's nearly 30, I I don't know what's gone wrong. So let's make the change now. For,
let's make it happen.
absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us here, Susie. Embody Your Empress has been the perfect place to have this chat. I'm so
Thank you.
excited that we've connected, and thank you so much for your time and the work that you do in this world. Truly unique and special.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the chat. Yeah, I love that it's so unscripted as well because I didn't even, other than my homework, I didn't look at my notes.
It is truth, it is life, and hopefully we got some joy out of today. I know I've been feeling
Absolutely.
like
I
I've
know
been
I did.
out. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.